Zareth held her dying son close to her chest as she hid behind the broken machinery in the old mining station. Her 4 arms wrapped around little Chiron while her heart beat fast with fear. The blue scales on her skin felt cold, and her breath came in short gasps. She had been running for 3 months now, and she was tired. So very tired. The medicine she had stolen was almost gone. She looked at the small bottle in her hand. Only 2 doses left. Her son needed 1 dose every day to stay alive, which meant she had 2 days to find more medicine or watch him die. Chiron coughed, and blood came from his mouth. His breathing was getting worse. The sickness in his lungs was winning, even with the stolen medicine. Zareth wiped the blood away with her sleeve and whispered soft words to her child. She told him everything would be okay, but she knew it was a lie. 3 months ago, her life had been different. She was a respected warrior in the Kethari army. Her people valued strength and honor above everything else. They believed that only the strong should live and have children. When Chiron was born with weak lungs, the doctor said he was not worth saving. The law was clear. Sick children like him should be allowed to die. But Zareth could not let her son die. She loved him more than her own life. She loved him more than her honor. She loved him more than everything her people believed in. So she made a choice that changed everything. The medicine that could save Chiron cost more money than her family had ever seen. It cost more than 10 families like hers could ever pay. The government would not pay for it because they said Chiron was not perfect enough to deserve it. Only children with perfect genes got expensive medicine. Zareth tried everything. She sold everything she owned. She begged her family for help. She asked her friends and her commanders in the army. Everyone said the same thing. Let the child die. It was the natural way. It was the right way according to their laws. But a mother's love does not follow laws. A mother's love does not care about money or honor or what other people think is right. A mother's love only cares about saving her child Dot. So Zareth did something no Kethari warrior had ever done before. She broke into the medical center where they kept the expensive medicines. She fought past the guards, even though it meant hurting people she had once called friends. She stole enough medicine to keep her son alive for 6 months. Then she took Chiron and ran away from the only home she had ever known. For 3 months, they had been hiding in the empty spaces between the stars. Old mining stations, broken ships, places where nobody else wanted to go. Zareth used her military training to stay ahead of the hunters who chased them. But the medicine was running out, and her son was getting sicker. She checked her small computer for any messages. Nothing from friends. Nothing from family. Everyone she had ever known now thought she was a criminal. The government had told people she was crazy, that she had lost her mind and become dangerous. They said she was a traitor who had attacked innocent people. The truth was different, but the truth did not matter anymore. What mattered was that Chiron was dying, and she had no way to save him. Zareth looked out the small window of the mining station. Space was dark and cold, filled with rocks and dust. No ships had passed by in 2 days. She was starting to think they would die here, alone, forgotten by everyone. Then her computer made a sound. A ship was coming. Zareth felt fear grow in her chest. Was it the hunters? Had they finally found her? She grabbed her weapon with one hand while holding Chiron with her other arms. If they wanted to take her son away from her, she would fight until her last breath. But the ship that appeared was not a Kethari hunter ship. It was smaller and shaped differently. The metal was a strange color, and it moved in a way she had never seen before. Her computer tried to identify what kind of ship it was, but the answer surprised her .human.Zara single quotes had heard stories about. Humans. They were a new species that had just started traveling between the stars. Most Kethari thought humans were weak, because they were small and soft. They had only 2 arms instead of 4. They lived short lives and seemed to care too much about things that did not matter. But other stories said different things about humans. Some said they were dangerous because they did not follow the normal rules. Some said they were crazy because they would fight anyone, no matter how big or strong. Some said they were strange because they cared about other people's children as much as their own. Zareth had never met a human before. She did not know if the stories were true. But she knew one thing for certain. She had no other choice. Sun coughed again, and more blood came out. His breathing was getting weaker. The medicine would only last 2 more days. After that, she would have to watch him die with shaking hands. Zareth turned on her communication device. She did not know if the humans would understand her language. She did not know if they would help or hurt her. She did not know anything about them except the stories. But sometimes, when you have lost everything, stories are all you have left to believe in. She pressed the button and began to speak, hoping that somewhere in the darkness of space, someone would hear a mother's cry for help. Captain Jake Morrison was drinking his morning coffee when the distress signal came through the ship's communication system. The sound was strange, full of clicks and hisses that their computer was trying to turn into words. Jake set down his cup and listened as the translation program worked. The voice was female, that much was clear. But the words came out broken and mixed up. Something about a child. Something about dying. Something about help. Jake looked around. The bridge of his cargo ship, the Star Runner. His crew was small but good. Amy Foster sat at the navigation controls, her red hair tied back as she studied the star charts. Ben Clark was fixing something under the engineering console, only his legs visible as he worked. Dr. Lisa Harper was reading medical reports on her tablet. Ryan Bell was monitoring the communication channels, his fingers dancing over the controls. "Ryan," Jake said, "can you clean up that signal?" Ryan worked with the computer for a few minutes, adjusting settings and filtering out the background noise. Slowly, the alien words became clearer. The translation was still rough, but Jake could understand enough. A mother. Her child was sick. They were hiding. Someone was chasing them. They needed help. Amy looked up from her charts. "Captain, we should be careful. We don't know anything about this alien or why someone is chasing them. This could be a trap." Ben slid out from under the console, wiping oil from his hands. "Our medical supplies are limited. We've got enough for our crew, but treating an alien? That's different. We don't know how their bodies work." Dr. Harper closed her tablet and stood up. "If there's a sick child involved, we have to try. That's what doctors do." Jake stared out the front window at the dark space around them. They were carrying supplies to a colony on the edge of human space. Important supplies that people were waiting for. If they stopped to help this alien, they would be late. Their company would not be happy. But Jake had been raised by good people who taught him simple rules. You help people when they need help. You protect children. You do what's right, even when it's hard. "Ryan, send a response. Tell them we're coming to help." Amy shook her head. "Jake, think about this. We don't know what we're getting into." "I know exactly what we're getting into." Jake said, "We're helping a mother save her child. That's all I need to know." It took 2 hours to find the alien ship. It was hiding in an old mining station, broken and dark. The ship itself was damaged, with holes in the hull and engines that were not working. Jake could see why they had sent a distress signal. They were stuck. Life signs? Jake asked. Lisa checked her scanner. 2, 1 large, 1 small. The small one is weak. Jake put on his spacesuit and took Amy and Lisa with him. They connected their ship to the alien vessel and opened the airlock. The air inside was thin and cold, but breathable. The alien was waiting for them in the main room. Jake had seen pictures of other species, but meeting one face-to-face was different. She was tall, much taller than any human. Her skin was covered in blue-gray scales that caught the light. She had 4 arms, 2 strong ones and 2 smaller ones. Her eyes were large and yellow, filled with fear and hope. In her smaller arms, she held a child. The little alien looked just like her, but much smaller. Jake could see that the child was very sick. Its breathing was shallow and fast. Its skin looked pale even under the scales. The alien mother spoke in her clicking language. The translation device on Jake's belt worked slowly, turning her words into English. "Please," the device said in a flat computer voice. "My son is dying. I have medicine, but not enough. Please help him." Dr. Harper stepped forward, her medical bag in her hands. She moved slowly, showing that she was not dangerous. The alien mother watched her carefully, but did not move away. Lisa knelt down and looked at the child. She used her scanner to check his body. The readings were strange, because alien bodies were different from human bodies, but Lisa had studied enough to understand the basics. "Respiratory failure," she said quietly to Jake. "His lungs are not working right. The medicine he's taking is helping, but it's not enough." Jake looked at the alien mother. Even though she looked different from humans, he could see the same thing in her eyes that he had seen in human mothers: love, fear, the desperate need to save her child. "What's your name?" Jake asked. The alien spoke, and the translator said, "Zareth." "Zareth, I'm Jake. This is Dr. Harper and Amy. We want to help your son." Zareth's eyes filled with something that looked like tears, though they were clear instead of salty like human tears. "Why?" she asked through the translator. "Why do you help? You do not know us. We are not your people." Jake thought about that question. It was a good question. Why did humans help strangers? Why did they care about other people's children? Other species thought it was strange, maybe even stupid. "Because that's what we do," Jake said simply. "When someone needs help, we help. When a child is sick, we try to make them better. It doesn't matter what species you are." Dr. Harper was examining the medicine bottle that Zareth had given her. "This is good medicine, but it's not strong enough for how sick he is. We need to get him to a real medical facility." "How long?" Jake asked. "The nearest human colony with a good hospital is 6 days away." Jake looked at the sick child in Zareth. Arms. 6 days might be too long, but they had to try. "Then we go to the colony," Jake said. "All of us, together." Zareth stared at him. "You would take us to your people? But we are strangers. We are criminals in our own space." "You're not criminals to us," Jake said. "You're a mother trying to save her son. That makes you family." The word family seemed to surprise Zareth. She looked at Jake, then at Lisa and Amy, then back at Jake. "Family," she repeated through the translator, as if she was trying to understand what the word meant. "Family," Jake confirmed. "Now let's get your son to a doctor." The journey to New Haven Colony was supposed to take 6 days, but Jake pushed the Star Runner as hard as he could. The ship's engines worked overtime, and Ben spent most of his time in the engine room making sure nothing broke down. They were racing against time, and everyone knew it. Dr. Lisa Harper had set up a small medical area in the cargo bay. She worked day and night to keep little Chiron alive. The alien child was getting weaker, and the stolen medicine was almost gone. Lisa had to learn quickly how Kethari bodies worked, using her scanner and medical knowledge to help a species she had never treated before. Zareth stayed by her son's side every moment. She watched everything Lisa did, asking questions through the translator. At first, Lisa was nervous about having the alien mother so close while she worked. But she soon realized that Zareth was learning. The alien woman was smart and wanted to understand how to help her child. "Your people, Zareth," said to Lisa one day, "they are very different from mine." "How so?" Lisa asked as she checked Chiron's breathing. "You help strangers. You care for children that are not your own. My people would say this is weakness." Lisa looked at the tall alien woman. "What do you say?" Zareth was quiet for a long moment. "I say my people are wrong." On the second day, Ryan Bell picked up something on his communication equipment that made everyone worry. Cathari ships were following them. 3 large military vessels, moving fast and getting closer. "They're not trying to hide," Ryan reported to Jake. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies, demanding that we stop and surrender the criminals." Jake called everyone to the bridge. Zareth came too, carrying Chiron in her arms. The child was so weak now that he barely moved. "They want us to give you back to them," Jake told Zareth. Zareth nodded. "I know. I am a criminal by their laws. I stole medicine. I hurt people. They will make me pay for my crimes." "What happens to your son if we give you back?" Zareth looked down at Chiron. "He dies. They will not give him medicine. They will say, 'It is natural law. Only the strong should live.'" Amy studied the navigation charts. "We could hide in the nebula ahead. It would slow us down, but they might not find us." "How much slower?" Jake asked. 2 days, maybe 3. Lisa shook her head. "He doesn't have 3 days. The medicine is almost gone, and he's getting worse." Jake stared at the approaching ships. On the scanner, they were bigger than the Star Runner, with more weapons and faster engines. If it came to a fight, his cargo ship would lose quickly. "There's another choice," Zareth said quietly. Everyone looked at her. "Leave me behind. Take my son and save him. I will surrender to the hunters. That will give you time to reach your colony." The bridge was silent. Jake looked at this alien mother who was willing to sacrifice herself for her child. It was the most human thing he had ever seen, even though she wasn't human. "No," Jake said. "Captain," Amy said, "maybe we should think about this." "No," Jake said again, louder this time. "No mother gets left behind. Not on my watch." And looked up from his engineering station. "So what do? We can't outrun them, and we can't outfight them." Jake thought about the problem. 3 enemy ships, 1 sick child, and a mother who would do anything to save him. Then he had an idea. "Ryan, open a channel to Earth Command." "Earth Command?" "Jake, they're weeks away." "Just do it." Ryan set up the communication link. It took several minutes to connect across the vast distance of space. Finally, a voice came through the speakers. "This is Admiral Hayes, Earth Command. Captain Morrison, you're a long way from home. Admiral, I need help. We have a sick alien child on board, and his mother is being hunted by her own people. They want to take him back to die." There was a pause. "Explain the situation, Captain." Jake told the Admiral everything about finding Zareth and Chiron, about the medicine and the chase, about the Cathari ships that were getting closer every hour. "So let me understand," Admiral Hayes said. "You want the Earth Defense Force to protect an alien criminal and her sick child?" "I want the Earth Defense Force to protect a mother and her son," Jake said. "That's all." Another pause. Longer this time. "Captain Morrison, you realize that this could cause problems with the Cathari government?" "Yes, sir." "You realize that we could be starting a war over 2 aliens we don't even know?" "Yes, sir." "And you still want us to help?" Jake looked at Zareth holding her dying son. He looked at Lisa working so hard to save a child that wasn't even her species. He looked at his crew, who had all chosen to help strangers instead of playing. It's safe. Yes, sir. Because that's who we are. That's what humans do. The communication was quiet for a long time. Jake could hear the hum of the ship's engines and the soft beeping of the medical equipment, keeping Chiron alive. Finally, Admiral Hayes spoke again. Captain Morrison, 3 destroyers are changing course to your position. They'll be there in 18 hours. Thank you, sir. Don't thank me yet. We still have to convince the Cathari to back down. And Captain? Yes, sir? You better be right about this. You better be right that this is worth risking everything for. Jake looked at Zareth, who was listening to every word, even though she couldn't understand English. He looked at little Chiron, fighting for every breath. I'm right, Admiral. Some things are worth everything. The communication ended, and the bridge was quiet again. Outside, the stars rushed past as they raced toward New Haven Colony. Behind them, the Cathari ships were getting closer. Ahead of them, human warships were coming to help Dot, and in the cargo bay, a human doctor worked to save an alien child, proving that some things really were worth everything. Sarah single quotes spoke through the translator. Your people are coming to fight. For us, they're coming to protect you, Jake said. That's different. Why? Jake smiled. Because protecting people is what families do. And like I told you before, your family know. Zareth looked at him with her large yellow eyes. I do not understand humans. That's okay, Jake said. Sometimes we don't understand ourselves either. We just know what's right. The human ships arrived just in time. Captain Sarah Webb of the destroyer New York led 2 other warships through space, like angry wolves protecting their pack. Jake watched on his scanner as the 3 human vessels took positions around his cargo ship, forming a protective wall between the Star Runner and the approaching Cathari fleet. In the cargo bay, Dr. Lisa Harper was fighting her own battle. Little Chiron's breathing had gotten much worse during the night. His skin was turning a darker color, and his body felt cold to the touch. The stolen medicine was completely gone now, and Lisa was using human medicines that she hoped would work on alien biology. His lungs are filling with fluid, Lisa told Jake over the communication system. I'm doing everything I can, but I need better equipment. I need a real hospital. Jake looked at the navigation display. New Haven Colony was still 12 hours away, even at their current speed. Chiron might not have 12 hours. On the bridge, Ryan was listening to the communications between the human and Cathari fleets. The translation programs were working overtime as both sides tried to talk before shooting started. This is Commander Vextar of the Cathari Third Fleet, came the alien voice through the speakers. You are harboring criminals who have violated our laws. Surrender them immediately. Captain Webb's response was calm but firm. This is Captain Webb of the Human Defense Force. We are protecting a mother and her sick child. No harm will come to them while they are under our protection. These are internal Cathari matters, Commander Vextar replied. You have no right to interfere. A mother protecting her child is not an internal matter, Captain Webb said. It's a universal right. Stand down and let us pass. Jake could see more ships appearing on the scanner, but these were not military vessels. They were smaller civilian ships coming from different directions. Ryan worked to identify them. Captain, Ryan said with surprise in his voice, those are Cathari civilian ships. Looks like families, transport vessels, even some merchant ships. What are they doing here? Amy asked. The answer came through the communication channels. One of the civilian ships was broadcasting a message that the translators picked up. It was another Cathari female, speaking in their clicking language. My name is Tarish, the translation said. I have a daughter who was born with a heart defect. The government said she was not worth saving. I let her die because I believed their laws. But this mother, Zareth, she fought for her child. She showed us that there is another way. We stand with her. More civilian ships arrived. Each one brought another story. Parents who had lost children to the strict genetic laws. Families who had been told their sick relatives were not worth helping. People who had heard Zareth's story and realized they did not have to accept their government's cruel rules. Commander Vextar's voice came over the radio again, but now he sounded angry and confused. Civilian vessels, return to your homes immediately. This is a military operation. But the civilian ships did not leave. Instead, they moved closer, forming a protective circle around both the human and Kethari fleets. Families protecting families. In the cargo bay, Zareth watched the scanner display that Lisa had set up so she could see what was happening outside. Tears flowed down her scaled face as she saw ship after ship arrive to support her. I do not understand, she said to Lisa through the translator. Why do they come? They do not know me. Lisa looked up from her medical equipment. They know you're a mother who loves her child. That's enough. Chiron made a small sound, and both women looked down at him. His breathing was getting weaker. Lisa checked her scanner and shook her head. We're losing him, she said quietly. That's when Amy's voice came over the ship's communication system. Medical transport approaching. It's coming from New Haven Colony. Jake looked at the scanner. A fast medical ship was racing toward them, its engines pushed to maximum speed. It was still hours away, but it was coming. Dr. Harper, Jake called on the communication system. Help is coming. He doesn't have that long, Lisa replied. In the space around them, the standoff continued. The Kethari military ships faced the human warships, while civilian vessels from both species watched and waited. It was a situation that no one had ever seen before. Commander Vextar tried again. Captain Webb, we outnumber your ships 3-1. Do not force us to use violence. Captain Webb's response was steady. Commander, look around you. Look at all these ships, all these families. Are you really going to start a war because one mother tried to save her child? There was a long silence on the communication channels. Finally, a new voice spoke. It was older, with more authority. This is Fleet Admiral Korthax of the Kethare High Command. Commander Vextar, stand down. Admiral? Commander Vextar sounded confused. I said stand down. This situation has grown beyond a simple criminal matter. Too many of our people are watching. Too many are asking questions about our laws. Jake listened to the conversation with growing hope. Maybe they could get through this without fighting. Maybe they could get Chiron to the medical facility in time. But his hope was crushed when Dr. Lisa's voice came over the communication system, filled with sadness. Jake, you need to come down here, now. Jake ran to the cargo bay, his heart pounding. He found Lisa and Zareth kneeling beside little Chiron. The child was very still. His breathing almost stopped. I'm sorry, Lisa said. I've done everything I can. His body is shutting down. Zareth held her son close, singing a soft song in her own language. It was a lullaby, the kind that mothers everywhere sing to their children. Jake knelt down beside them. The medical ship is coming. It'll be here soon. Too late, Zareth whispered through the translator. I have failed him. No, Jake said firmly. You didn't fail. You gave him everything. You gave him love. You showed him what it means to fight for family. Outside, the ships waited. Human and Kethari, military and civilian, all holding their positions while a mother said goodbye to her child. But just as hope seemed lost, Chiron's eyes opened. He looked up at his mother and made a small sound. It was weak, but it was something. Dr. Lisa quickly checked her scanner. His breathing is stabilizing. I don't understand how, but he's fighting back. That's when the medical ship arrived, faster than anyone thought possible. It docked with the Star Runner and human medical teams rushed aboard with equipment that Lisa had only dreamed of using. The lead doctor, an older man named Dr. Kevin Martinez, took one look at Chiron and immediately began working. His team set up machines and administered medicines that were specifically designed for alien biology. "We've been studying Kethari medicine since your distress call," Dr. Martinez explained as he worked. "New Haven Colony has been preparing for this kind of situation." Within an hour, Chiron's breathing improved dramatically. His color returned to normal, and he began to move around in his mother's arms. Fleet Admiral Korthak's voice came over the communication system one final time. "Zareth of the Warrior Caste, you are hereby declared an exile from Kethari space. You and your offspring are no longer citizens of our empire." Instead of sadness, Zareth felt relief. "I understand, Admiral. However," the Admiral continued, "what you have done today has shown many of our people a different way of thinking. Perhaps there are things we need to change about our laws." Captain Webb spoke up. "Zaret H. and her son are welcome in human space. New Haven Colony has already prepared citizenship papers for them." Jake smiled as he watched Zareth hold her healthy son. Around them, human and Kethari ships began to move away peacefully. No shots had been fired. No one had died. A mother's love had prevented a war, and maybe changed two civilizations forever. "Welcome to the family," Jake told Zareth. This time, she understood exactly what he meant. 2 years had passed since Zareth and Chiron arrived at New Haven Colony. The small human settlement had grown bigger, and it now had the best mixed-species medical center in this part of the galaxy. Dr. Lisa Harper ran the facility, working alongside alien doctors from 6 different species to help anyone who needed care. Chiron was now a healthy, happy child who spoke both Kethari and English perfectly. He played with human children in the colony's parks, his blue scales shining in the artificial sunlight. The other children thought his 4 arms were amazing because he could catch balls that they missed and carry more toys than anyone else. Zara had found her place in the colony too. She worked with Dr. Harper, teaching human doctors about Kethari biology while learning human medical techniques. Her warrior training made her good at staying calm during medical emergencies, and her gentle hands were perfect for helping scared patients. Every morning, she would take Chiron to the human school, where he learned alongside children from 3 different species. The teacher said he was one of the smartest students they had ever seen, curious about everything and kind to everyone. But the biggest changes were happening far away. In Kethari space, the story of Zareth and her son had spread across the Kethari Empire like a fire in dry grass. Parents who had lost children to the strict genetic laws began asking difficult questions. Why should only perfect children deserve medicine? Why should families be forced to watch their sick relatives die? Why should the government decide who is worthy of life? At first, the Kethari leadership tried to stop these questions. They said Zareth was a criminal and a traitor. They said human ideas were dangerous and would make their people weak. But it was too late. The questions had been asked, and they would not go away. Civilian ships began arriving at New Haven Colony every few weeks. Kethari families with sick children seeking the medical help their own government would not provide. Dr. Harper and her team treated them all, never asking for payment, never turning anyone away. Jake Morrison still visited the colony whenever his cargo routes brought him nearby. He had become something of a legend among both humans and Kethari, known as the captain who would risk everything to help strangers. But Jake did not like the attention. He just did his job and helped people when they needed help. On one visit, Jake found Zareth in the medical center, helping a young Kethari mother whose baby had been born with the same lung problems that Chiron had suffered from. The baby was tiny and weak, but the human medical machines were keeping her alive while doctors worked to fix her breathing. "How is she doing?" Jake asked. "She will live," Zareth said with confidence. "Dr. Harper has developed new treatments. By combining human and Cathari medicine, this baby will grow up healthy and strong." Jake watched as the young mother held her baby, tears of relief flowing down her scaled face. "How many is that now?" 47 children, Zareth said. 47 Cathari children who would have died under our old laws. Now they have a chance at life. And their families? Most stay here on New Haven. Some return to Cathari space to tell others about what they have seen. Each one plants a seed of change. That evening, Jake joined Zareth and Chiron for dinner in their small home. The walls were decorated with pictures that Chiron had drawn, showing humans and Cathari playing together. One picture showed a tall blue figure holding hands with a shorter pink figure, both smiling. At the bottom, Chiron had written in careful English letters, "My Mom and Jake." "You know," Jake said as they ate, "I got a message from Earth Command last week. The Cathari government wants to start official talks about medical cooperation." Zareth looked surprised. "Really? Seems like all those families you've been helping have been talking to people back home. The pressure for change is getting too strong to ignore." Chiron looked up from his food. "Does that mean other sick kids won't have to run away like we did?" "That's the idea, buddy," Jake said. 3 months later, the first official Cathari delegation arrived at New Haven Colony. They were led by a middle-aged female named Commander Shara, who had once been a supporter of the strict genetic laws. But she had changed her mind after her own grandchild was born with a defect that would have meant death under the old system. Commander Shara met with human officials, toured the medical center, and spoke with Cathari families who had found new lives on the colony. She was especially interested in talking to Zareth. "I came here expecting to find a traitor," Commander Shara said through the translator. "Instead, I find a mother who saved not just her own child, but countless others. I only did what any mother would do," Zareth replied. "No," Commander Shara said firmly. "You did what every mother should be allowed to do. You fought for your child's life. You showed us that love is stronger than law." The talks led to the first Cathari Medical Reform Act, which guaranteed basic medical care for all children, regardless of their genetic status. It was not everything that reformers wanted, but it was a beginning. More importantly, it opened the door for cooperation between humans and Cathari in ways that no one had imagined. Human doctors began teaching in Cathari medical schools. Cathari. Scientists shared their knowledge with human researchers. Together, they developed treatments that helped both species. Years later, when Chiron was a teenager, he would often ask his mother about the day they met Jake Morrison. Zareth would tell him the story of how a human cargo captain had risked everything to help strangers, how human doctors had worked day and night to save an alien child, how human warships had stood between them and danger. "Why did they help? You?" Chiron would ask, even though he knew the answer. "Because that is what humans do," Zareth would reply. "They see a family in need, and they help. They do not ask what species you are or where you come from. They just help. And now, other species are learning to be more like humans, more caring, more willing to help strangers, more willing to put love before law." Chiron grew up to become a doctor himself, specializing in treating children from all species. He often said that he wanted to help other families the way Jake. Morrison and Dr. Harper had helped his family. The medical center on New Haven Colony became known throughout the galaxy as a place where any sick child could find help, regardless of species, genetics, or ability to pay. Above the main entrance, carved in stone in 6 different languages, were the words that Jake Morrison had spoken that first day, because that's what families do. And humans consider everyone family until proven otherwise. Zareth had sacrificed. everything for her child, losing her home, her honor, and her people. But in return, she had gained something far more valuable. She had found a new family among the humans, a new purpose in helping others, and the knowledge that her sacrifice had changed two civilizations for the better. Sometimes, when she watched Chiron playing with his human friends, she remembered the desperate mother hiding in a broken mining station, calling out to strangers for help. That mother had been afraid and alone. This mother was surrounded by family and filled with hope. The humans had given her a new life, and through her story, she had given countless other families a chance at new lives too. That, she thought, was what real families did for each other.